Let's talk to Philip Ingram, former senior military intelligence officer, see what he makes of it all. Philip, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
So, I'm not quite sure why the Iraqi Prime Minister's come to Downing Street, but it's an interesting one at this point in time, isn't it? They're talking about having a bespoke returns agreement between the UK and Iraq and some kind of export package deal. I don't know what that means, really.
It is. Well, you know, there's a large number of the individuals that come across the channel by boat come from Iraq. And you know, this is part of the Prime Minister's desire to try and get people sent back to their home country again, in the same way the Tories did with the Albanians.
Right. But isn't Iraq one of the places that they can't get sent back to? Because if they claim that they're suffering from persecution for one reason or another, whether they're gay or whether they're, you know, politically not acceptable to the Iraqi regime, they can't be sent back.
Well, it's one of the places that we can send people back to because we've got diplomatic relations with Iraq.
Yeah.
You know, we can't to Syria at the moment. It's almost impossible to Libya. We can't to Afghanistan. So Iraq is one of the places where we could get people sent back to if the left-leaning pinko lawyers won't stop individuals who have got minority claims. Most of them aren't true, but minority claims from stopping them from being put onto the returns flights.
No, sure. Well, we'll see what comes out of it, but I mean, it just seems a bit of an odd thing to do. I mean, the problem with this government at the moment, they seem to be sort of prioritising the wrong things. You know, there's an awful lot of stuff that you could be doing to stop the small boats and to stop the gangs, but I don't know whether this is going to make any difference.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's going to make any difference whatsoever. You know, the government has announced a greater number of returns than the Tory party did beforehand. But those returns were mainly individuals whose visas that had been legally obtained had run out.
Yes.
And from what I understand, and I haven't confirmed this, they've been offering them £3,000 to send them back home again. So, you know, you let your visa run out, instead of booking a return flight, you just wait until the government comes and taps you in the shoulder, gives you £3,000 and sends you home again. That's quite a good way of getting home and saving money for students and others.
Yeah, I think that's true. Let's talk about President Biden. He's only got a few more days left as president. Donald Trump becomes the new 47th president on Monday. No Keir Starmer, of course, at the inauguration. But he's hoping, I think, to get a deal done in Israel with Hamas. Let's have a look.
On the war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned in many years of public service to never, 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 ever give up.
Indeed. He says he's never going to give up, but I mean, he is actually giving up in a few days' time. Whether or not this deal is done before he leaves, one would imagine, I think, that this has very much got the footprint of Donald Trump on it, hasn't it?
Oh, very much so. You know, Donald Trump has said quite categorically to Hamas that if the hostages aren't released by the time he's inaugurated on Monday, then all hell will break loose. So I think it's within their interests to do this and do it now. Now, Biden's peace deal has the hostages being released in increments. But, you know, what's striking me with this is if Hamas is still in a position where they know where the hostages are, where they can still make decisions on the ground, you know, their infrastructure is still there. No wonder Israel's continuing to prosecute its operation against the Hamas operatives.
Yeah, indeed. And Hamas, as a rule, though, because we're worried about them, obviously, and we were talking earlier on to a former Israeli government official who said, you know, the worry is that whatever deal Biden does, it might allow Hamas to still continue to operate. And obviously their preferred situation would be that Hamas is no longer able to operate at all.
Well, it's not just the Israelis' desire for that. You look at the number of Middle East countries that have opened their borders to Palestinian refugees. You can add it up with no fingers because none of them have done it. You know, Hamas grew out of the Muslim Brotherhood, and you know, they almost destabilized Egypt many years ago. The Egyptian Gaza border has been closed ever since all of this has gone on. So they are a recognized terror organization that not just scares the West, but scares other Middle East countries.
Yeah, absolutely right. Good to talk to you, Philip. Thank you very much indeed. Former senior military intelligence officer Philip Ingram there on the news that there could be a peace deal in the offing, which could see the hostages all being freed before Donald Trump becomes the new president, which, of course, he said must happen. And if it does happen, then I think we will be very, very thankful indeed. Obviously, having to watch the ridiculous shenanigans that David Lammy's been involved in while he's been over there, very much criticised by the Israeli government.